Hello, everyone. Welcome to Me Vision Academy, a very special award of successful leadership to a special South African citizen, Herman Mashaba, today. After doing this award handover, we'll interview him on the very reasons why we're giving him the award. So more about that in a moment. Welcome, Herman Mashaba.
Thank you very much, Adrian, and really thank you very much for this recognition. You can imagine being recognized for doing such a brutal work that I hate, but one of the most rewarding jobs ever. I always say to South Africans, how I tell them how I hate this job, but how I've still, on the other hand, feel privileged, being born in poverty, liberated myself during the dark days of my country's history, and to use business to free myself. And today, when I'm supposed to really go in retirement, I'm given an opportunity to serve my country. It's really something that I treasure, and really thank God for giving me this put me in this privileged position to be able to do this job.
Yeah, I guess leadership is full of dichotomies, isn't it? You hate the job, but you love it. It's just the way leadership is very often. But very quickly, Herman Mashaba, those who don't know, former mayor of Johannesburg, of course, businessman, black like me, and other business ventures he's done over the years. And then just over 3 years ago, I believe you started Action SA with your great team. And you've done amazing things for a party that was so small in the local elections, and now you're aiming for a miraculous achievement in the national elections in 2024. Now, I just want to say a few words before we do the actual handover and then the interview. You've clearly led a new party successfully for the past 3 years, Herman. That means, by implication, you've led yourself successfully, you've led others and people successfully, you've led an organization successfully. Whether people agree with your political views and principles or not, that's not the point here. And this interview is not so much about political views, but about your leadership per se. It's about the fact that you're not a perfect leader. No doubt you would say to me, and your team would, if they had to speak to me, say, Herman's been a great leader, but you're not perfect. You've made mistakes, no doubt. And so do all leaders. So anyone who knows what it's like to start a new political party and run it successfully for a few years and grow it would have respect even more so for what you've done. And there aren't many of them. A lot of the political leaders now have inherited a party that was built by others in many ways. And ironically, maybe, I don't know if ironically is the right word, but one of the few leaders that can understand what you're doing is a guy like Julius Malema, who's also taken a party from nothing and it's grown. But they are opposition to Action SA. But not many leaders. Some have tried it, haven't they? They've spun off from the ANC or DA or whatever, and they just haven't succeeded in building a party. So we recognize you today. We're going to show you the award very quickly in the form of a certificate, but it's more than a certificate. It's very exclusive. And then we'll ask the questions. I'm going to share screen here. You can see that?
Yeah.
Everyone else can see it. Let me go here. It's an exclusive recognition. There's nothing like this, Herman. There are selective people in different industries and businesses that we will give this to. So we're very, very selective. It's an exclusive recognition of successful leadership awarded to yourself, Herman Mashaba, for what? For consistently leading self successfully, consistently leading and mobilizing people successfully, successfully leading your party as president for 3 years plus, your commitment to mentoring future successful political leaders. And then finally, something people often miss, I think, is becoming part of the solution. So many people shout from the sidelines. But becoming part of the solution, no doubt, at great sacrifice to you and your family and many other privileges that you may have. And that's the Me Vision Academy recognition of prior performance. So we do definitely recognize that, let me quickly come back here, that people get certificates, diplomas, degrees for knowledge. But to get a recognition for performance as a leader in the leadership space is a very different ballgame. So we congratulate you, and we really are grateful for leaders who become part of the solution like yourself. So, Herman, just simply, what have you learned about leading self? What does it mean to you?
Well, first of all, thank you very much for this recognition. It's completely humbling. It's deeply touching because I wasn't doing this job. In fact, I remember many years ago, just before our democratic dispensation, one organization giving me an award. And I said, award for what? I didn't go into business to receive award. I went into business to make money. But however, I'm really quite appreciative. It was one of those black business organizations giving me an award for my business achievement. That's even before the New South Africa. And that was my acceptance speech. That I wasn't in business to receive awards and be recognized. I went into business to feed myself and my family. But I'm, however, really grateful that my work is being recognized by others. And over the years, I've received numerous awards. This is obviously the latest one. Actually, the first one I'm receiving being a politician because I joined politics, never wanted to be a politician, according to politics, to save my country from the ANC. Because I realized that the ANC is going to destroy this country if we don't really stop them. So that's really the reason why I'm in politics. And now here am I, full-time politician with the support of my family. Brutal job. It's a really selfless job, but for me it is rewarding. My grandfather taught me self-reliance. For that reason, at the age of 22, I took a decision not to work for other people and work for myself, because I realized working for other people, I'm not going to attain the kind of success that my grandfather expected and demanded of me. So now I'm running a political party, and you said earlier on it's a small party. Action SA is actually not a small party. We are officially the sixth biggest political party in South Africa, only contesting 6 municipalities out of 278, just over a year old at the time in 2021. We emerged nationally as the sixth biggest political party, receiving 550,000 votes from 6 municipalities. But more importantly, Adrian and Louis, what is for me much more gratifying is the kind of political voter support that we received. No political party, including Nelson Mandela, received support across all racial groups. So Soweto, Sandton, Randburg, Alexander, it has never happened. That's really, for me, it's really more gratifying than the number. It is just to really be supported almost equally by all South Africans. That really makes me really proud human being, because it is my wish to see South Africa achieving the rainbow nation that Desmond Tutu eloquently spoke about. And it is my mission to make sure that my grandchildren can live in a country where they're not going to be judged by how God created them. They will be judged by their merit.
So I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't see Action SA as a small party. You had a small footprint a year after being a new party, and it's amazing what Action SA did, and I'm very excited to see what will happen in the national elections. So I'm very, very impressed. That's part of the award, is just the leadership and the movement that you created. Now, the categories in which we recognize you is leading self, leading others, leading an organization, the investment that you're putting in growing future successful political leaders, and then finally also the sacrifices that you and your family have given. And I am interested. So you mentioned self-reliance. So leading self is not easy. How do you lead yourself? Are you very disciplined? You wake up early? Do you have certain habits? You seem very disciplined. You're strong in family. You have a strong value system. You're a Christian. You believe in God. I mean, are those all part of elements that help you lead yourself in a disciplined and successful manner, Herman?
Yeah, in fact, and I'm so grateful to God for giving me the wisdom at the age of 22, because when I took a decision to go into business, I felt I needed stability in my life because I grew up in a relatively stable environment. As much as I lost my father at the age of 2, and my mother had to work in Johannesburg as a domestic worker, but my sisters were there for me. And obviously now growing up, having to now look at going forward, I realized that I needed a woman in my life. And I think I'm glad I married well. Um, Married now, what, more than 42 years or so. I can't even really count any longer. And I think my wife has been a pillar, my sisters, my mother, and now I've got my wife to protect me, because I always tell people I got married at 22 to protect myself from myself, because I realized I'm a danger to myself as an individual. I needed someone who can protect me. And my wife played such a key role that one day soon, when we celebrate 50 years of our marriage, I need to give even a bigger certificate than the one that you are awarding to me today, for the role that she's played. So she really played the biggest referee the world has ever seen, to protect and make a man like me.
Yeah, that's wonderful, Herman, and obviously that's helping you lead self, lead others, lead life. You 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 enjoy life. I mean, you have a solid value system. Does that keep your true north going? I mean, how do you stay true to who you are? How do you stay humble?
Well, if it's interesting. Some people over the years, people have always regarded me to be a stubborn person, but for me, it's not really about being stubborn. My grandfather instilled in me a sense of not standing on the fence. He used to say to me, "My boy, if you stand on the fence, you're gonna fall and hurt yourself. So always be on the ground. And when you're on the ground, you must understand you're not going to have many friends, because people who normally stand on the friends are those who are trying to make friends with everyone. So I'm not in this world to make friends, but friendship is very important to me. But must be the kind of friendship that is based on values, not the kind of friendship that I see a lot of people making. That's why some people take me to really be a stubborn person, because there are certain things, values and principles in life I will never stand on the fence. If obviously people take me to be a dictator, or they take me to be a stubborn person, so it be.
Mm. Yes, thank you. I mean, before I ask you about leading people, old man, I don't know if you want to ask anything around leading self or anything Herman has said.
I just want to say, Herman, there's one attribute you have that is unique. Your very expression shines a certain kind of empathy, and it comes across very strongly. Uh, I know you in a brutal environment, but don't lose that expression of empathy that you show. It's a very strong attribute, and I respond to that. Thank you.
Louis, I got into politics because I could not really stand seeing poverty in my country widening. And poverty is a man-made phenomenon. And I've decided to use my privileged position with my family making more money than what we could use. But I don't really believe in giving people fish, as is always said. I believe in getting involved in projects and processes where I can get people to learn how to fish. And this political movement called Action SA is that political party. I've decided to really go for it, to ensure that I can give people an opportunity to correct their lives on a long-term basis, unlike short-term, where again I put money into giving people food, queuing for food that they can really be fed for the day, but the next day they're hungry again. the political environment, more especially a democratic environment, it is actually to teach people to take responsibility for their country by going out to vote and learn not to really be married to political parties or political individuals. Be selfish. When you vote for politicians, and you've got to vote for them, but put them on terms. That's the only way politicians will listen to you. And in our South African political environment, we're in such a fortunate position that every 2.5 years, you've got an opportunity to punish politicians. And you can imagine if there were just under 40 million eligible voters, if we can use this kind of approach, in a few years' time, this country can boom because we will have politicians that are held accountable. And if I can succeed in teaching South Africa to embrace democracy, because it's only through a democratic system that this country can make it. This country is not going to make it under dictators. This country is not going to make it under a socialist system. This country is not going to be successful by being led by criminals.
Herman, how do you handle disappointment? I mean, in politics, there's lots of disappointment, surely. Are you sometimes down at the end of the day? How do you pick yourself up?
I tell you, not a single day I don't get disappointed. But fortunate enough, I've been trained to accept and embrace life to be a difficult space. So for me, when I encounter a challenge, and I encountered massive challenges like today, I've just think dealing with a major issue. I was saying to my wife earlier on, I said, every time I must go on a holiday, something just crops up. And there's a crisis that I need to deal with. It doesn't really shock me. I take it to really be part and parcel of life. You know what, Adrian and Louis, when you encounter a challenge, sometimes you feel, my goodness, how am I going to get out of here? What I do, I rely on the wisdom of God to assist me to use my brain to navigate those challenges. And I always come out victorious eventually. I'll just leave it to God. He says, look, I have to solve this problem. I'm not asking you, God, to solve it for me. Just give me the wisdom to be able to act in a manner that is in line with what you expect all of us as human beings to do. And that's what I do. Sometimes, and most of the time, on a short-term basis, some people might be very unhappy with me. They will call me names and be brutal. But at the end of the day, as long as God has said to me, Herman, what you are doing, stand on your ground. I look at it a few years later, a few months later, it does happen that I always get vindicated on my stance.
Herman, what have you learned about leading people, your team around you, who are in this equally difficult environment, as you say, this difficult space? What have you learned about leading people, getting the best out of them?
What I've learned is that you've got to learn every day because the challenges that I encounter today, tomorrow they're going to be different. So I think it's to embrace challenges and to get people to take personal responsibility. I'm not really shy to take difficult decisions. I think, for me, honestly, taking tough decisions is part and parcel of my DNA. When I've appointed someone or I work with someone who I discover is not an honest person, I'm not afraid to confront that person head on. It's either call them one-on-one, and normally I prefer actually to call them in a meeting to express and convey my disappointment and request that we part ways. So I'm not afraid to do this. I'm not the kind of person trying to really deal with issues. People call it you deal with it politically. I don't know what people mean by that. Dealing with things politically. When you have an issue, deal with it based on the facts in front of you, and to really be honest with the person you are dealing with, why you are happy or unhappy with them.
But I'm interested in. I mean, you've gathered a team of people around you. Maybe here and there, some have fallen out the Action SA bus, but in general, they're still there. They're not getting massive salaries or anything. You know, they get something maybe. I don't know exactly how they compensate it, but yet they seem to remain motivated and inspired to keep going. Is it something you do? Is it something you do, and it's something inside them? How do you keep that fire going in your people?
I think to some extent, I look at my business career spanning over 40 years, and I look at my political career only a few years. And people I've surrounded myself because I've always believed in surrounding myself with strong individuals because surrounding myself with as soon as I discover someone is weak within my team, I get very vulnerable. I feel honestly and truly, I feel vulnerable. And I make sure that I move this person somewhere else. Sometimes people are weak by nature, but they don't have malicious intentions. But as soon as I discover I'm dealing with what I call snakes, I immediately deal with them. But when people make mistakes like I do, because if anyone makes mistakes, I'm the first person to admit, because life is not perfect, and the only way you can perfect it is to try something new, and that's really why what I do. And people have come to really trust me. They know if I say something to them, I mean it. So I'm not the kind of person that I live where anybody, anytime, I will die without having anyone one day holding a gun at me because I did something untoward. You can never. And I'll never also uh, really deceive someone deliberately. If ever I make a mistake, I say something to you, or I do something without your knowledge, it's not because I had bad intentions. You know, as a manager, Adrian, you know, from time to time, you have to really make decisions outside or without consulting some of your managers. But because at the time it's not wise to really let them know. So I don't really act maliciously. Let's say, to just give you an example, I discover someone who's operating in a dishonest manner, and I need to act, and I need to act very fast. I don't have to, and then I realize if I have to inform some of the team members, they might really feel I acted improperly. But I need to act, and I explain afterwards. You know, and over the years, people have actually come to really respect me for this, because I will at first apologize that, guys, I'm afraid I had to deal with this situation without first informing you, because it was just too dangerous uh, um, to inform you, because sometimes some of these things you need speed to really be able to act.
Yeah.
You know, so but I apologize to them why, and I explained them why, and they realized afterwards over time as to why I needed to really act in that kind of fashion. But obviously, I'm the kind of person that consult, but sometimes I'm forced not to really consult, but really take a decision, because you need the speed to be really be able for this decision that I'm taking to really be sustainable.
Yeah, and we do have a brand of slowness in politics, and sometimes you can understand it. I remember sitting with Jacob Zuma when he had to make a decision on the next prosecuting authority or something, and he had taken months and months. And that's when I happened to interview him, and I asked him about this, and he was so strong and consultative, but he didn't get the principle of speed. You know, sometimes speed is so important.
Oh, no, most of the time, speed
Yeah,
is important. So yes, and not that you're not consultative. It is because actually slowness. Look at what Cyril Ramaphosa has done to our country by failing to act at the time when it's necessary for him to act. He always comes out with excuses that he's strategic and is consultative. But look at where the country is right now. Every indicator in this country is on the wrong side.
so just before, okay, it's fine to lead yourself as a leader, which we recognize you for. It's fine to lead your people in certain ways, and thank you for some of those gems. I want us to just very briefly spend a minute on organization. what you've learned about that. But before we move on, old man, any comment on the leading people side or any question?
No, I just have an affinity with what Herman's saying. Please go ahead, Padre.
So Herman, I mean, now it's the organization. So you've had to drag yourself forward, lead yourself. You've had to pull people with you. But there's an organization called Action SA. What have you learned about leading organization? Obviously, you led business successfully with your wife and your team and family and colleagues and so on. And then you came to Action SA. How different is it? What have you learned about leading organization that maybe is universal enough and that leaders can pull over to leading business or leading any organization for that matter? Some gems there.
Leading a political party, it's really one of the most difficult, brutal jobs I've ever undertaken. And I never thought in my wildest life that one day I'll become a politician. You can imagine, Adrian, in late 2015, when I accepted the proposal from the DA to be the mayoral candidate. In fact, even today at the press conference, I was sharing this with the media that I actually accepted this responsibility without having a clue whatsoever what the mayor does. So I said, let me be honest with you. I had no clue what the mayor does. I've been living in the same area in Sandton for 25 years or 20, whatever years. I said, I didn't even know, and I've always voted for the DA at the time, because I only voted for the ANC twice. I did not even know that there's a thing called the councillor responsible for my area. And all of a sudden I accepted to be the mayor because of my concern of what was happening to my country. And my viewpoint and why I accepted this, when I looked at this so-called experienced people, I said, if this is what we call experience, then there's no way that I cannot really do this job. Even the same principle happened when I went into business. As you are aware, I don't come from a business family. I come from a family as poor as you can get. But I took a decision at the age of 22 to go into business. And I had to really learn I had to learn to, I'm always thrown in the deep and I swim out. In fact, even swimming, I learned swimming with my partner in business, Johan Krill. At the time, during the apartheid days, remember the township, we did not have swimming pool. And Johan had a swimming pool in his house, and we went. I just went into the swimming pool. Within 10 minutes, I could swim. And everyone really battled for months to really learn how to swim. I just went into there because I looked at what Johan and his kids were doing. And then I jumped into the deep end and I swam out. And I'm that kind of person. I probably... I was really born to break barriers. I don't know if you're aware, when I bought my first car, brand new, the first person in my community, in my village, to buy a brand new car, not only in my family, brand new, paid 6,800 rands, 6,800 thousand rands. Bought it in Lodium at Carbide Motors. Was a big Toyota dealer. I had never driven a car in my life. I only had a driver's learner's license, and I was still at the time reluctant to use my money to go to a driving school. So I was still thinking about it. And I went to Carbide Motors on a Saturday with Connie to really look at the car that we will buy once I get a driver's license. And for some reason, the sales guy wanted to know what car I liked, and I showed him, and says, "What deposit do you have?" I said, "No, I've got 3,000 rands deposit." And there was a West Bank in the premises. Half an hour later, I was surprised to be called that the West Bank has approved your application. And now, my goodness, my wife got really nervous. I'd never driven a car, and it's a manual. You can imagine leaving Lodium going to Hammanskraal.
Sure.
I took that car. I'd never driven a car in my life before, a manual. I managed to drive from Lodium to Amanskral. And a month later, I had a driver's license. In fact, I bought it on a Saturday when I got home to got my cousin to start. First time to get someone to teach me how to drive. That was on the Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon. Monday, I was working in Kudusport in Pretoria. Monday, I was reluctant. I was nervous to take it to town. But from Tuesday onwards, I drove from Amanskral to Kudusport. And within a month, I felt ready, applied to go for the driver's license test. I got it the first time.
So,
That's me.
I mean, it's clear in your background that your fearlessness, your courage, your confidence helps you build something. Maybe today, if you look back, if you knew what you knew now, you may have been too scared to build a political party because it's much worse than you thought it would be, but much tougher. But still, Herman, I don't want to move on from this question. I mean, what strikes me about Action SA is the homework you did before, because you started a forum, or what did you call it again, where you did
the people's dialogue.
Dialogue, correct. And you had people, thousands, some millions, I don't know, share with you what they would like in South Africa and how it should be fixed. But is that part of the secret of how you grew? Is it the vision that makes you work successfully, build an organization? What are some tips? What makes you succeed in scaling an organization?
Look, what happened is, Action SA was really started by accident because I still had 2 years, when I was a mayor, I still had 2 years to go to serve as a mayor of the city of Johannesburg. And I was running a stable coalition government. Unfortunately, sometime around about August, came across someone tipped me about secret meetings between the ANC and the DA, facilitated by the IRR, to have a motion of no confidence against me. And it was a really heartbreaking moment. It's still painful in my life today as to why, if the DA were not happy with me, to tell me, Herman, please move on, because being a mayor was the last job in the world I wanted. And then I honestly and truly did not realize that I'd made such a huge impact to South Africans, because all of a sudden, the entire country said, Herman, start your own political party. But then I said, my goodness, where the hell do I start? I didn't know what a mayor does, but now people are asking me to start a political party. Where do I begin? That's how I conceived this idea of the people's dialogue, to achieve two things. Firstly, I wanted a scientific basis, whether these are genuine people or not. Secondly, I wanted to make sure that all these people who are asking me to start a political parties, if the numbers are there, do I share the same values with them? Because you must understand, I was betrayed twice already politically. Betrayed by the ANC, because I grew up thinking the ANC is a liberation movement to fight for my rights and public service, only to discover that this is a criminal organization. So I've really felt betrayed. That's why I then went to the DA. Now, leave my business, serve the DA. Now DA is they labeled me an EFF mayor. My sin is because I was focusing service delivery to poor communities. Now I said, my goodness, what the hell is this? So I think I did not want to really make the same mistake again, because as a mayor or as government, you are not in government to serve people who voted for you. When you're in government, you must serve everyone, particularly the most vulnerable. Take them out of poverty. DA refused, and they felt they came out with a propaganda to label me as an EFF mayor, so that they can justify why they're supporting ANC to remove me from office. So I did not want to make the same mistake. So I wanted people to really we agree on the values, and I was really pleased. Because my family was really very concerned, because I had to put my own money to start this project, and I didn't know how much I needed to spend. But the only condition I said to my family was that if I get less than 500,000 signatories, I won't proceed. 3 months later, 2.4 million signatories, 5 times the number. So I had no choice. I had to proceed in forming the political party. But then before forming this political party, I needed these 2.4 million people to commit to 7 core values. Value of non-racialism, that if you support me, then forget about racism. We must build an non-racial South Africa. We must believe in free market economy. We must believe in the rule of law. We must believe in ethical leadership. We must believe in providing the best education for South Africans. We must believe in one day creating a situation where South Africans can elect the public representatives directly. The 7th one I've forgotten, but these are the values that are needed to before I could. That's why I got the results of the numbers end of February of 2020. Only launched the party on the 29th of August. So that period, literally, how we engage South Africans. We were on the Zoom meetings, and it was during COVID, operating from home every day, engaging with thousands, if not millions of South Africans. We debate these issues, and those who wanted racial parties, I'll tell them to go to hell and leave me alone. And those who did not believe in free market, they believe in socialism and communism, because I despise communism and socialism. So those are things which were not negotiable for me. I believe in free market economy. I believe in producing clever blacks, which I just could not believe a few years into ANC government for them to discover that they hate the clever blacks, because clever blacks are challenging them. And I said we need to, and the only way you can produce clever blacks is by making sure that our education must be one of the best in the world.
Okay, so Herman, thank you for that. All of this doesn't mean much if the current leaders are not building future leaders. So just tell us, what are you doing to ensure that we create more successful political leaders in the future?
Well, if you look at our party, when we started, I started with 4 of us, Michael Berman, Andre Kutsie, Tabansi Buzan, and myself. Just the 4 of us. And here's the party today with a membership of 230,000. We've got 9 provincial chairpersons. We have a Senate of 24 people, and look at the caliber of people on our Senate. These are highly professional people. We've just come out of our policy conference. I'm sure you followed it. You look at people who contributed to our policy formulation using experts. So we were not afraid to use people who are going to be critical, people who are going to really give us the insights. I'm sure you're aware, a few weeks before the conference, it came out that I was trying to push to bring back the death penalty. And my colleagues presented very compelling reasons against the death penalty, and I'm in full support. They've changed my mind. But before that, 2 months ago, before the policy conference, I was determined I was going to really push to really that Action SA must adopt the death penalty. But because I listened, people said no. And the argument presented to me was just too compelling, and I'm in full support of what we've adopted to really deal with these heinous crimes. Murderers, rapists, drug dealers. We need to deal with them and deal with them harshly, but we don't necessarily have to kill them.
Okay, so now you've got these. So one of the ways to multiply more successful political leaders is a growing organization and giving them the ability to lead different parts of the party and the country. How are you developing them further? Maybe last question: what are you doing to make sure they're quality leaders, that they are ethical leaders, that they are good with leading themselves, leading their people? like you've done?
Well, ever since the launch of Action SA, we meet as Senate, we meet officially once a month for the full day. We have once, twice a year, depending on the budget, we have a 1 week strat session where we get together. But our Senate, there's not a week that passes without having an emergency issue that requires Senate approval. So I think we get involved, and we bring in experts to talk to us from time to time when we get stuck on a particular subject matter. As much as I have accountants on my board, on our Senate, we've got advocates, acting judges, professional people with masters, with PhDs. But at the end of the day, we believe outside help from time to time will help us, because I think when we are at a Senate of 24 years, bringing different skills, but at the end of the day, we might have a blind spot. It is for that reason, on a regular basis, I invite experts to come and talk to us on different subject matters to really engage us.
Thank you, Herman. Old man, final comments from you before we say goodbye to Herman?
I just wish Herman the best. Herman, thank you for being a person of character and making a difference out there. You represent a golden thread with people that really are so necessary in our country. Thank you for the privilege of knowing you.
Thank you, old man. That was the Me Vision Academy recognition of successful leadership interview with Herman Mashaba. Herman, thank you so much. We really appreciate your time. All the best with your travels.
Thank you so much, and we talk when I get back.
All the best. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.